Dom Amori, Hartford Current. Geno, I know AZ didn't think much of the question, but I'll ask you. What's different as you go into this tournament? I know obviously you've got Sarah, you didn't have her before. Paige and AZ playing together, didn't have that before. A little more depth, obviously, a lot more depth than you've had before. What gives you confidence that this is a different team going into?
Well, first off, I hope everybody was able to catch how much information these guys gave you and how fast they were talking. And so hopefully you recorded it. They're the most boring interviewees I've ever been around in my life. And you can imagine coaching them, because that's basically what I get when I ask them stuff. You can't underestimate, and you alluded to it, you can't underestimate the change in personnel, right? How much that means. Because last year, let's take that, for instance, and the year before, you're going into the NCAA tournament with your fingers crossed, hoping that nothing else happens, because you're just so used to one setback after another, that it almost felt like you're operating on borrowed time, that you're just waiting for that last shoe to fall. And you knew that your margin for error was so slight, so narrow. And it's hard to get players to play at a real high level and not understand we can't foul, we can't turn the ball over, we can't miss shots. We have to do everything perfectly. And this year, I think the sense is we can handle more things that are thrown at us. We maybe have answers to some of the things that we didn't have last year. Obviously, we don't have the same level of experience that we had last year. We didn't have a Nika, we don't have an Aaliyah that's played all the basketball that they played. AZ hasn't played hardly any basketball, and Sarah's a freshman, and Jenna's a freshman, and so we don't have quite the experience that some of those guys had. But what we do have is the ability that if the game's not going in our direction, that we can change it. That's comforting to know that. That doesn't mean we're going to change it, but we have the opportunity to change it. So you're always excited for the NCAA tournament, but some years, you're hoping and praying. This year, you still have that. But it's not as dire, not as crucial as it was last year.
Stay in the front row, Alexa.
Geno, 30 conference tournament crowns. Your players weren't around to see all those or know what that really means, but for you, what does it take to have that consistency and to be able to reach that threshold?
I mean, it's pretty sad that, we've won more tournaments for longer than they've all been alive. That's hard to actually even make that statement, because I was asked, as a matter of fact, my daughter was, after the game, she said, was Megan the first Big East championship? Was she on the first Big East championship team? I said, yes. And she's in the building. And, there's, Kalina Green was around last night. There's generations that can all share in all these conference tournaments that they happened, in the 80s and the 90s and 2010s and 20s. So that consistency, that ability to keep doing that with all the changing players and the changing times and all the other things that are happening. I think we have obviously really good players. I don't think anybody wins without really good players. And we've been fortunate to get, terrific players for 30 years. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this subject. But at the same time, I think we have a culture, we have a belief system in our program that this is the expectation. You know, I truly believe that the higher you set expectations, the closer you get to achieving those. And we have tremendously high expectations. Every year, those never go away. And some years you fall short, but most times we don't. I like the fact that whenever we've had the best team, we win. And when we've not had the best team, we don't win it. So that's it's not guaranteed to UConn.
Front row, Doug.
Geno, Paige had accomplished something tonight that no other player's ever done, albeit Stewie was in the other conference with you guys when she was at the school.
Yeah.
But to have her be the only player ever to win three most outstanding players in the Big East, what does that mean? And to her overall legacy, I mean, you've said it before that the standard at this school is very, very high. Is her legacy going to be defined a little bit in the next 6 games you guys potentially have?
Well, I think Sarah should have got it. I mean, I'm just saying that because somebody will write it, she'll hear it, she'll read it, and then I'll have to deal with it, which will be fun. I think it's funny that you mentioned that because I always go into this tournament, if we have the player of the year, I always think someone else is going to win it because it's happened so many times where someone just rises up and just has an unbelievable tournament. I mean, it's happened to us a lot. Fortunately, you know, we've had those kinds of players. So I'm always expecting who's going to be that other person. And that's why I was saying about Sarah. Like, you know, Paige is so good and she does so many things. But in another time, in another year, the things that Sarah did would be player, you know, most valuable player, most outstanding player in the tournament. That's how you win this tournament. You need more contributions from more people. But Paige is steady. She's consistent. And she plays her best games generally when we need her to play her best games. This is quite an achievement by her. This conference been around a long time. So, yeah, it's quite an accomplishment. Yeah. In the Big East, you know, there's Shelley Pennyfather, I think, was the first great superstar, and then Kerry Bascom was. You know, there have been others, but, you know, Paige certainly is going to be on that list of who the best players ever in the Big East.
Second row, right.
Geno, you've been saying that you wanted Sarah to play like she's one of the best players in the country. Did you see her take any steps forward with that this weekend?
I thought the third period today, maybe the first 5-6 minutes of that third period, I thought you saw something you haven't seen yet this year. And that's what I was talking about, that if we can get that mindset, that feeling, you know, in the next tournament that we play in, that actually we're going to need that. If we want to win the games that I think we need to win, we're going to need Sarah to be exactly like she was this weekend, and especially like she was in the third quarter. I mean, you look at her stat line, right? 13 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 6 steals, and 3 blocks. I mean, who does that? Only the MVP, you know.
We'll go to Emily.
Don't
in the
worry,
back
she's
row.
listening. She's listening. Paige is listening.
Paige talking about playing with more joy, having more fun during this run. Did you see that from her this weekend? And
Yeah.
when she has that energy, do you see it kind of spread to everybody else as well?
Yeah. And if you think about it, when anytime a team was making a run, you know, that's where we went. That's where we looked to. You know, we knew that if we put the ball in Paige's hands, something good was going to happen. And the coaches talk about all the time on the bench that whenever we get a little bit stale on offense, we're going to go to that two-man game with Paige and Sarah, and something's going to click, something's going to happen. And when she plays free and clear, and there's a lot of pressure on her. There's a lot of demands on her from a lot of different sources. It's a heavy weight to carry around everywhere you go, and it can be, it can be demoralizing at times. And no matter what you do, more is expected from you. So, for her to be able to constantly come up with these kind of performances time and time again, she just has that thing that those kinds of players have.
Second row, Maggie.
I feel like all season, Paige, Sarah, and AZ have kind of taken turns having great games, whether it was two of them or one of them. But this weekend, all three kind of hit their stride in all three games. Do you feel like their chemistry is just at an all-time high right now, the fact that they're all playing together and having good games consistently?
Yeah, I do. I believe that all three of them do a lot to help each other. They, I think, probably AZ is the biggest beneficiary of all, because when you've got to pay so much attention to, Paige and Sarah and what they're doing with the ball, people maybe get a little bit sidetracked and they're not quite sure, like, am I supposed to help over here? Am I supposed to help guard these two guys? Can I play, and they make a mistake and boom, AZ's got a wide open three. Or so the three of them pretty much do what they're really, really good at. And we need them. I mean, AZ didn't score in the second half today. That probably, the first half she was unbelievably good. And, going to the next tournament, we have to find a way to have all three of them be consistently good the entire game. We're going to need that. There's been a couple of times where, all three of them have played great, but we're going to need all three of them to play great every one of those games that we're going to play.
Anthony, back row.
Coach, Caitlin Chen had 5 turnovers tonight. From your perspective, was it the Creighton defense, or was she maybe pushing it a little bit more, trying to create?
Yeah, I wasn't too thrilled with our guards. We have been playing games where we had 4 turnovers, 5 turnovers, halves with no turnovers. So sometimes, when the games mean as much as they mean today, players get a little bit anxious to do some things, and they get a little bit ahead of themselves, get a little careless. So, yeah, I wasn't too thrilled about that. But those are things that we can fix for sure. I didn't like the fact that, we had 17 turnovers, and I do think that Creighton's defense is a little bit underrated, because they are a very good defensive team. Their offense gets a lot of notoriety, but they're a very good defensive team, and they put a lot of pressure on our guards. Both Caitlin and KK were under a lot of pressure the entire game.
Stay in the back row, back left.
I apologize for shifting gears, but what is it about the Creighton prep? What is that like in a tournament setting, in a weekend setting where it's a short turnaround and you kind of have to go through things that makes it difficult?
Well, luckily, this is the 3rd time that we played them, right? So we didn't have to do a whole lot of anything different than what we've been doing. For a team that's going to play them, let's say they play Saturday, Monday. Let's say they win Saturday. And now you have one day to prepare for them for Monday. This is the same group of kids that went to the Final 8 and had a chance to go to the Final 4. So they know how to play in big games. It is hard to prepare for them. They know each other so well. They move without the ball really well. Today they didn't shoot the ball great, but when they've got those things going, I think they can beat any team in the country if they're able. And again, they're a lot like us in that sense. We've got to make a lot more threes than the other team. So do they. But I know I wouldn't, believe me, I was hoping Georgetown would win that game. Not no disrespect to Georgetown, but in some ways, because I knew it would be a headache to play them. But in the end, you want to play them because it makes it more worthwhile to play that team tonight. But whoever's playing them in the tournament, they're going to have their hands full, for sure.
Front row, Roger.
You know, what is it about your defense right now that allows you to play a very good offensive team like that and shut them down? Is it connectivity? Is it the small lineup?
Tanya thinks I hate my defense. Not mine, my team's defense. She thinks I don't have enough respect for our defense because I'm always complaining about what we're not doing. But what we are doing is the scouting report is being followed. So like Tanya had a great scouting report today, and we were pretty locked in on, you know, what we're trying to do, what the game plan is. And that's been really, you know, we play hard, yes. We have a small lineup. We can switch everything, yes. But at the end of the day, if you're not a smart defensive team, teams like that are going to kill you. And I think, you know, today, I mean, that first half, it was really, really hard for them to get anything done. And it's been like that because I think we're really locked in right now. We're playing really good as a team. Our team defense has been really good. But, you know, it comes and goes too. You know, keep your fingers crossed.
Front row, right, Carl.
Geno, do you think Paige, if you look back where she was, say, a year ago, having played so many minutes before even playing in the NCAA tournament, 22 coming off the knee injury, and then 21 the bubble, is she in maybe the best spot she's been in headed to the NCAA tournament in her career? What do you think?
I think she's healthier. She's put a lot of work in. The experience that she's had playing in the tournament, I think, certainly helps. Less wear and tear on her body for sure. This past season, we were able to rest her, which we weren't able to do last year. She has a different cast of characters around her this year than she's had previous years. Every year that she's been in the tournament, we've been at a disadvantage in terms of missing someone that was really key for our team, in some cases 2 or 3. So this is the first time we're going into the tournament with most of the key pieces intact. And I think that's a great place for us to be in, and it's a great place for her to be in.